5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before. Heard it before is now talk like you've never seen it before. Alex Bennett's Ramble is now in video. Log on to Alex's Facebook page at facebook.com/abennett every Tuesday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern and experience the Citizen Panel like never before. We put a face to people like Phil, Patrick, Renee, Kevin, Tony, Jeff, Bree, Brian, and all of our regulars. And Alex is there too in his PJs. Just be glad he isn't naked. You can be one of those people who gets seen and not just heard by calling into Skype. For more information on how to Skype us, just go to gabnet.net. You can dress any way you want, provided it's decent. GabNet is now not just talk and not just a pretty face. So why don't you add yours? Spotify has 180 million monthly users and access to 35 million songs and podcasts. Now, all those offerings are going to have to move over and make room for GabNet programming. Yes, at long last, Alex Bennett's Ramble, Damian Chaplin's Exchange, Jack Bishop's The Intersection, and even the franchise MC's Arena and Michael Snyder's weekly movie reviews will be fighting for space on this massive platform. Each day, the programs are updated, so you can hear them on the Spotify app, available for all smartphones and game consoles. Or you can just go to Spotify on the web at spotify.com. So, give us a shot on Spotify. There's a 35 million to 5 chance we'll get people to listen to talk like they've never heard it before.
This is an Internet Network news break. IP Pingsley reporting. Our top story, the Great American Broadcast Network, otherwise known as GabNet, is now a TuneIn partner. TuneIn, the world's largest audio network, has joined forces with GabNet, the world's most innovative talk network. GabNet's partnership with TuneIn means that listeners now have 3 main ways to listen to GabNet programming: Gabnet.net, TuneIn.com, and the convenient TuneIn app for smartphones. To participate in the network's innovative citizen panels on GabNet programs, use Skype and type the handle GabNet Live, or call on your phone 347-352-0079. For more information on this network, its programs, and its hosts, log on to gabnet.net. That's gabnet.net. This has been an Internet Network news.
5 years and still talking. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey! Hello, everybody. This is Alex Bennett. I don't know what's wrong with my audio tonight, but it doesn't seem to be playing completely, but we'll see. Okay, it made it through that. It didn't make it through the last promo, but, one problem after another. Who cares? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday night, and we'll have a citizen panel a little bit later, but right now we got an old friend. Ladies and gentlemen, can I try that again? Ladies and gentlemen from the sunny shores of California, it's the music of Larry Bubbles Brown.
And his all-girl orchestra.
And his all-girl, thank you, Phil Spitalny.
And those were great, those that thing you sent me with.
Well, I never, there was Evelyn and her magic violin. I don't know how a violin can be magic. I mean, my father played one, and I never found it to be particularly magic to me, He played well, but it was not, suddenly flowers didn't appear and pigeons didn't come out of a hat, so. Anyway, but there was a group called Phil Spitalny and his all-girl orchestra, and I could never see the reason for it. There is nothing worse. I hate to tell you this. There's nothing less sexy than a female playing a tuba or an accordion. So, you know.
Yeah.
Am I being sexist? Is that sexist? I don't know. I've lost all sense of it. I grew up in an era where there was.
I think everything is sexist these days, so we just have to go with it.
When I was born and when I was growing up, there was no such term as sexist. You know.
You're right.
You know, there was such a thing as not being a gentleman. You know, not being decent to another human being. But you know, fuck it. I give up on this political correctness bullshit. Anyway, how you doing?
Good, good. As you know, the Punchline is going down here in San Francisco.
Well, let's explain this a little bit. The Punchline has been a comedy club in San Francisco for how many years?
Since 1978.
Since 1978. So that
before I started, so that's how.
And
long
before I got to San Francisco. You know, I came to San Francisco, I think, in late 80. And there was a Punchline then. It didn't start out in the current location, did it?
No, it's always been there. There was a building connected to it called the Old Waldorf, and the Punchline was actually the green room for it was a music club, and it was a green room for the musicians there.
I see. Okay, so they then took part of the Old Waldorf, made it the Punchline. Then they closed down the Old Waldorf, didn't they?
They closed the Old Waldorf like in the early mid-'80s. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that closing. And did they move it somewhere else? Isn't what Cobb's Comedy Club now is? What didn't it become the Old Waldorf or something?
No, I think the Waldorf just may have moved some of the where Cobb's is now used to be called Wolfgang's.
Wolfgang's, okay, yeah.
Which I think was the name of Bill Graham's son.
No, it was actually Bill Graham's name, I believe.
Oh, it was. Okay, I know it's connected to Graham somehow.
His real name wasn't Bill.
It
was Wolfgang. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And what happened was the Punchline was it started by Bill Graham?
It was started by some guy named Jeffrey Pollack, who might be related to Kevin.
Yes, he was, I think. Yeah.
And then I first went down in 1980 and saw comedy, and then it was kind of the Punchline. It was kind of dumpy. It had these butcher block tables and 8x10s and bad wiring running around the place. And then the year I started, 81, was when Bill Graham bought the Punchline, and he really fixed it up.
And turned it into a very nice club. I mean,
probably one. I think its reputation is probably one of the top 5 clubs in the country.
Yeah, I mean, physically and in every other way.
Perfect size for comedy.
And when Bill died by flying into a electrical tower, I guess the family then sold it.
It was owned by Graham's company, and they kept it for a while, and then it kept getting sold from one company to another. I figured there's 4 or 5, and then the people that have it now is Live Nation.
Yeah. And I, for instance, I had concerts I did on New Year's, and they were put together. They were created by me, but they were administered by Bill Graham Presents.
Yeah, and Jeff Wills.
And Jeff Wills, and then he went over to Live Nation, I think, when it became Live.
Right, and now he's...
So anyway, so the Punchline was the premier comedy club in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there was anything that came close. There were other clubs like Cobb's, which were fine clubs. There's nothing wrong with them. There was just something about, if you worked the Punchline, you were working the big room, you know?
Yeah, when we started out, one of the big things you had, it was a week at the Punchline. That made you feel like you were an actual comic. So.
Yeah, and that had to have been. Do you remember the first time you played the Punchline?
My first week there was June of '84 with Jeremy Kramer and A. Whitney Brown.
Wow. Now, I had already started doing comedy stuff then, so actually I precede you.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought you were there before I was.
And you did a couple of morning shows at the Punchline.
Couple. We did dozens, lots of them. I mean, whenever we did Breakfast with Bennett, usually they were at the Punchline. And I am wearing right now a Punchline 1993 All-Stars T-shirt.
Well, that's a collectible.
Is it a collectible?
Yeah, yeah.
Then why am I wearing it? I better put it in plastic or something.
Put that in cellophane.
The only thing is, my name isn't on the back of it, which should be, because I did essentially, technically play there by doing those breakfast shows there.
Yes, and not to mention giving them 10,000 plugs over the years.
I kept the doors open, for Christ's sake. Are you kidding me? Now, what has happened to it? Why all of a sudden, after 35 years?
41.
41 years. Okay, I'll take your word for it. 41 years. Why all of a sudden is it closing down?
Well, what I heard was they were going to renegotiate the lease a couple of weeks ago, and then they got a call, said don't even bother coming up, and the rumor is that Google is going to lease the building and use it as a gym for their San Francisco employees.
Oh, fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
That's not confirmed, but that seems to be the story that's going around
Turning
now.
a hallowed comedy institution. San Francisco and comedy were synonymous with each other. I mean, there was a huge comedy scene in San Francisco. I mean, just amazingly huge. And it was all spurred on by the Punchline. There were several clubs. I mean, let's not diminish what the other clubs did or created, but there were other clubs. There was the Cobb's, of course, which came, I think, was kind of a latecomer.
Cobb's came in. The one on Chestnut actually started in '81.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was, before that, I think, was the other cafe.
Yeah.
And the dinosaur, the Holy City Zoo.
Yeah. Now, the Holy City Zoo, let's talk about the Holy City Zoo for a second. This was where, if you wanted to start comedy, that's where you went, because you could always get time there.
Exactly.
I'm sure you were on stage at the Holy City Zoo before you ever got on the stage at the Punchline.
Yeah, I used to go down to the Punchline, and I was going to go sign up and try to get on there, and some comic told me, no, the first time you do comedy, you should do the Holy City Zoo.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah. And so you did the Holy City Zoo, and then you, perhaps if you were lucky, you got to, there were a couple of, there was one other club. What was it? The
other.
The other, which I think was a reference to the Punchline. being the other, and then there was Cobb's, but Cobb's came. When did you say Cobb's came?
Cobb's actually started in '81, kind of doing open mics and stuff, and then it got going actually pretty good in '82. They did a week with Slayton and packed the place, and the comedy boom was starting, and it took off too.
Well, still through all of this. The big club was the Punchline. There's no question about it. This was where everybody wanted to be. And there were a lot of people who came into town and tried to supplant them, including, let's see here, didn't the comedy, what's his name?
The Improv came in.
The Improv came in. They couldn't stay to keep their doors open. Punchline was still too powerful. I mean, it beat off a lot of competitors and big competitors. The Improv was a big competitor because they had a national reputation, because they got that thing on A&E years ago called An Evening at the Improv with Bud Friedman. And somebody said the two most seen figures on A&E were Bud Friedman and Hitler. So You know, this club, the Punchline, was the club, and then they had three of them. They had one out in Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek, that was a great one.
And then they opened one in Sacramento. And you would think that, hey, when they do that, you know, some of them would fail, but they were all very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And did they look alike? I can't remember. I do.
Yeah, they kind of had the same decor and looked pretty much alike. A little different layout, but pretty much the same.
Yeah, and of course they would then somebody like a Bobby Slayton would come to town. He would do the Punchline San Francisco, then he could do the Punchline Walnut Creek, and then he could finish up doing the Punchline Sacramento.
Right.
You know, so they could offer major comics a good deal. Now we're sitting here crying about the demise of the Punchline, but in many ways, didn't it come to an end a few years ago when they stopped booking a lot of local San Francisco talent, which basically was what filled their room constantly.
Yeah, that started, I'm trying to think about when there was so much local talent here. They didn't get many outside headliners. And
well, I mean, for instance, I had my show, and I'm not going to brag here, but my show people listened to, and then they heard comics, and it was kind of like a sampler, if you will, for a comic. In other words, Larry Brown comes on. Larry Brown, everybody thinks it's kind of funny, so they hear he's playing the Punchline, so he can draw people into the Punchline. So all these people that were on my show tended to get jobs as either the opening act, the headliner, or as say a second act. Mm-hmm. Most of the pool was from San Francisco. I mean, if you looked week to week, it wasn't like they brought in somebody from out of town. It
was Bob Rubin and Durst and Warren Thomas and Rick Reynolds and Bob Sarlot and
basically local people. And then all of a sudden, I guess they decided at some point this wasn't a good deal anymore, and they started hiring from out of town.
Yeah, it was probably after the comedy boom went bust in the early 90s, so they figured they'd try something different.
Did it go bust in the early 90s? Because I was there until 97, and it seemed to still be going fairly strong.
It tanked hard in 91, then started to come up a little back in the mid-90s, but never.
Well, you know why it tanked in 91?
Because you left town.
Because I got fired.
Yeah.
And I wandered in the wilderness for about, I guess 8 months, something like that. And then they brought me... They
entered the gates of hell in Miami.
Yeah, they brought me back. So, that was, I mean, I hate to brag, but I was a font of free publicity for that.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. For the comedy scene in San Francisco. And when I came back, it was never quite the same.
No.
And I had thoughts of maybe changing the nature of the show at one point when I came back because of that, but I didn't because why fight with a proven record, But I was never able to gain the same momentum after I came back that I had before I left. Okay. But here is this club, which is, if we now have managed to put it in proper perspective, was the premier place for comedy in San Francisco, which was comedy town. There were two big comedy towns in the United States. One was Boston,
right,
and the other was San Francisco. And a lot of times some people migrated between the two. I mean, all of a sudden at my doorstep on my radio show came a guy by the name of Bob Goldthwait.
Who hadn't been doing that great in Boston, then became a phenomenon out here. And then Kevin Meaney went from here back to Boston and became huge.
Yeah, but it was a huge success for Bob. Here's a great story. I always love to tell this story. All of a sudden, one day, somebody says, "Hey, you want to have this guy Bob Goldthwait on?" I go, "Okay, fine." So I have him on. He comes in, and he's, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." You know, the act that he did, that screaming character, which was a beautifully thought out character. And I mean, the day that Bob Goldthwait lost it was the day that he thought that everybody wanted to see the real Bob Goldthwait, and nobody did. They wanted that character, you know. And it was pretty. He was pretty. He came on the show, and the reason he liked me, and the reason we became so close, and the reason he liked doing my show was I never compromised the character. And the minute he walked in, I knew he was doing a character. So I played to the character. I didn't say, "So, Bob, what do you really like?" You know, which would be the tendency of most cheesy morning radio show hosts to do. I never tried to compromise that character. I played to it. And he loved that. After the show, he said to me, "Gee, you never once, you know, tried to make me break character." And I said, "That's not my job." You know, my job is to take your character and to play to it. And so he started doing my show constantly, and he became, how can we describe the success that he had in San Francisco?
I don't think anyone became bigger than he did here. I mean, that was a real, on a local level, that was like Steve Martin nationally in 1977. It was just insane.
I started producing concerts with him. Okay.
Selling out huge rooms.
And huge rooms, I mean, 1,000-seaters, okay, like the Palo Alto Keystone or whatever. Literally selling out 1,000-seat rooms in 5 minutes. Okay, when the tickets went on sale, it was like there was suction. Boom! I never had to worry about selling those things. They were sold out, you know, weeks ahead of time. That's how big Bob Goldthwait was in San Francisco. He was just huge. And I remember we did the last show we ever did with Bob Goldthwait was, and in fact, I have a video up on Gabnet TV on Roku of the show we did at the Circle Star Theater, in which were you down there? Because I think maybe
no, but I've heard several people I've talked to. I think Dana Carvey was on that show, and Rubin and Warren. They said it was the greatest comedy show they ever saw.
Yeah, yeah, and we did it there. It was called The Bobcat Goes to Hollywood because he had gotten a job to go do movies down in Hollywood.
Police Academy.
Police Academy.
Right.
And so this was kind of a farewell to Bob Goldthwait, and I mean. It was a phenomenal show. I mean, as I said, we had Warren Thomas on it. We had Dana Carvey, and who else besides? It was one other.
Bob Rubin.
Bob Rubin. So we had 4 big acts, and it just killed, and he was just this phenomenon in San Francisco. But let me tell you a story. So I've helped make him into a phenomenon. People say, "Oh, you made Bob Goldthwait." No, Bob Goldthwait made Bob Goldthwait. Bobby Slayton made Bobby Slayton. Larry Bubbles Brown made Larry Bubbles Brown. I simply was a facilitator, okay? Taking advantage of your enormous talent for my own well-being. Anyway, so I had this friend, I can't remember what friend came to town. And I said, listen, I want you to see this guy. He's been on my show, Bob Goldthwait. He's playing Cobb's tonight. It was right up the street from where I live. It might have been Shecky. I can't remember. And I said, let's go up and see him. And, you know, of course, I know the club owner, so I just walk in the door. You know, I don't have to pay to get in or anything else. So we go up, we walk up, and we walk into the front door of Cobb's. And it's like you open the door, and it's like, you ever open up a full refrigerator where you can't put anything anymore in it, you know? It was like that. I couldn't even get in past the front door. It was that packed. So we had to turn around and go home. I mean, I just couldn't. There was no way that I was going to be able to solve this little problem. So we went home, and I could not get into a show simply because of how popular I had helped make somebody be in San Francisco. But I mean, Goldthwait was a phenomenon. I don't think his career has lived up to that. I thought his career would be far bigger than it ever became. But I think maybe Bob Goldthwait was a bit on the self-destructive side, too,
As many comics are.
Yeah, well, sometimes things overwhelm you. I think there was this desire on Bob's part to say, well, I think people would like to see who the real Bob Goldthwait is. And nobody really cared about the real Bob Goldthwait. They loved the character. This character was almost, it's hard to describe to somebody who never saw it, but kind of Chaplin-esque in a way. In that he screamed, he shouted, but it was out of fear, out of personal fear. And he created this really fully formed character who he didn't ever break ranks with while he was doing it. I mean, it was all... Am I right? It was a consistent character.
Yeah. It was, he just caught on out here like it was insane.
Yeah, and people...
I first saw him at the Holy City Zoo when he first moved out here in '83, and I thought, when I first saw him, I thought, oh my God, he's going to scare people, and they just shows you what I know, but they just took to him like right away.
They loved him. And it was a phenomenon for him. It was a phenomenon for me because it made me a lot of money. It's not that I didn't share it with him, because I was always very good at making sure the comics got what they were worth. And in his case, he was worth quite a bit. I mean, if I took a 1,000-seat house and sold it out at, in those days, it was something like $15 a ticket, $20 a ticket. I certainly should share. I had to share part of that with the venue that I was doing it at, but then I would share whatever I got with him, and with the other comics when I did other shows as well. So but it's sad to see the Punchline go because the Punchline was the comedy club in San Francisco. And to see it go because Google wants to turn it into a gym makes me want to just like, go,
That pretty much sums up San Francisco.
It more or less sums up Google. I mean, people come in, see, companies like that come in from out of town. We're starting to run out of time here. We got about a minute left. They come in from out of town. And they have no idea of the impact of, say, a place like the Punchline. And rather than say, hey, we've bought the building, but let's do everything we can to keep this San Francisco institution going, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because they have no history with the Punchline. And they don't realize how many comedians they're going to put out of work, how many comedians they're going to prevent from having their first stage time in a place like that, So, when was the last time you played the Punchline, by the way?
Oh, a couple months ago.
So you were still there. What, middle act?
I still do it, yes. I do it about... There's so many comics now. We used to get like 3 weeks a year at the Punchline. Now nobody gets more than one.
Oh, okay.
But we're still working it,
But you're
still a great club.
Yeah, still a great club. And... it's a shame to see it go. It's kind of like just one more thing that's gone. So this week we're losing the Punchline and Doris Day.
Yeah, I know. And if you want to see the Punchline, the movie The Conversation, Gene Hackman actually walks in front of it.
Oh, okay. And hey, listen, we've run out of time.
That flew by.
Yeah, just like life.
Yes.
Anyway, Larry, we'll talk to you next week, okay?
Good talking to you, Alex. Thanks.
5 years and still talking. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, and that's Larry Bubbles Brown. I've got trouble with this. This program of mine, it does the, let's see here, close window. Okay, now reopen it. And it's this audio program, the thing that makes all the themes and everything work. And when I was trying to start it earlier, it was just slow in starting. Let's see how it does now. Let's just see for the fun of it here. Does it work? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Everything's working now. Nothing ever works. Anyway, I got some things to talk about, but I'll get to them when people call. By the way, see what I'm wearing? I'm wearing that Punchline All-Stars T-shirt. And that's the club that's going out of business. And word has it, well, let me go online here. I know Ray was trying to call a few minutes ago without even seeing that I was active. That's the trouble with the new Skype. It doesn't notice when you're active, okay? So anyway, the lines are open now. No, if you say invisible, it just doesn't show people you're on, but people can still call anyway. Well, here comes Ray Renati. He's usually not in this early. Let me see here. First of all, I got to turn up the audio there, and let me also put him in a square here. And he's obviously out and about.
Riding the bike.
Here we go. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, there you
Hey,
are. Why'd you try to call so early? You're usually you don't do that.
Because I thought they had a huge delay, and I don't know. I just wanted to say something about Google. I don't think, like that rumor about Google buying the Punchline for a gym.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably wait to see what happens, because Google bought my theater company that I had founded.
Mm-hmm.
They bought our building, and they kicked us out, but they built us on their dime, which cost over $2 million.
What? Yeah.
Down the street. So they were more than generous.
Well, I don't care about generous. If turn down your audio, Charlie.
But they built us one.
No, what? Well, yeah, but if they close this down to build a gym, that's going to be awfully disgusting.
I'm just wondering if that's a rumor, though.
I don't know that it's a rumor. In San Francisco, the way things have been going, it could be very real.
Yeah, that's true.
And if it's true, I may drop using what do you call it? YouTube.
Gmail. Oh, YouTube. Yeah, right.
As my thing to do the show on.
Yeah.
Because if it's true, and I suspect that there's Bubbles isn't one to give out with false rumors and things like that.
That's true. I know.
And
I know.
the story he told was that the Punchline was up for renewal for their, $23,000 a month. Okay. Was up for their lease renewal, and they had been accepted. And then Google bought the building, and they turned around and said, "Sorry, we're not going to renew your lease." They reneged on it. Okay, so that's the problem. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to us. And then after about 6 months, they say, "Okay, we don't want to put you on the street, so we're going to build you a theater." But we were a nonprofit, so they probably won't do that for Punchline.
Yeah, well, who knows? But anyway.
Yeah.
So I may be getting a little delayed here, folks, if there's a problem. We didn't have it the other night, but I've been dealing with several things here. First of all, Skype, okay? As you know, we've had a constant problem with Skype lately, where before I get a thing and there are 4 little deals that go on there, and one is, I can't remember what the first one. One is stop the call, one is video, one is microphone, and the third one is, anyway, the one on the end is add the person to the group. And all you had to do was click on that, and it put them right on the group, right? Well, all of a sudden they did a what do you call it? Upgrade of their program a couple of weeks ago. You all know because you all got it, right? And ever since then, whenever I try to answer a call that way, which is the way you're supposed to be able to answer a call, it immediately says missed call. And then on the machine that gets the missed call, like Charlie's, what does it say, Charlie?
Your signal's too weak or something like that.
Yeah. Now, everybody gets that. Everybody. All right? So I write on, the only place I can go is to the Skype gripe blog, and I gripe about this because it's obviously nothing we did here. It's just that we upgraded the program, and the program won't do that now. And then I have to, like what I did with Charlie a few minutes ago, I have to call him back. All right? And so I put this thing up, and all of a sudden, I guess some person either associated with Microsoft or does some stuff for Microsoft or whatever says, well, what's your problem? And I told him the problem. And then he asked me again what the problem was. And I told him again what the problem was. And I told him, you know, all the things we did. And I said, it's not only me, it's not only my show, but it's also the people who use the same line after and before me who are having exactly the same identical problem now. So it isn't just me. And you know, then the guy asked me to send like screen saves of the thing. So I simulated it by having one of my accounts call in, and then I had another account over on Marjorie's machine call in, and that was the second one. I got all the graphics they needed, all this, and I sent that in. And the guy went, "Well, wow, you're sending all the stuff we need. I'll send it on to them." The next thing I know, I get a message from somebody, either at Skype or maybe it's one of the people on this thing, saying, well, have you tried doing such and such? And I said, I already said that in all the other things. I mean, he wanted me to re-say, he asked a whole bunch of questions that would re-answer all the questions I had already answered in my previous posts. And it's just driving me fucking crazy. Come on, Skype, admit you've got a fucking problem and do something about it. Don't try saying, gee, you know, it's probably you, you know, you probably... And then the person that wrote, I always wrote and said, the first person who calls always gets in. It's the second person that calls, and the third person, the fourth person. And this guy writes, so it's always the first person you call? And I went, will you go back and read my fucking letters? No. It's crazy. It's maddening. It's a company that will under no conditions admit they make a mistake. You know, and I wish there were somebody, please, you know, there's room for an alternative to Skype.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Is Phil dead tonight? Anybody hear about Phil dying or anything?
No.
Because usually he's always called by this time of night.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know.
Yeah. But...
It seems to me that when Skype first came out,
Mm-hmm.
I seem to remember one or two other competitors that did the same thing, but I think they're gone.
I don't think they were competitors.
They weren't?
Not exactly in that way. You know, everybody goes, have you tried Zoom? I looked at all of them. I've looked at all of them, folks. Don't suggest anything. I've looked at all of them. Here comes Phil. Now I'll have to probably call him back, right? Yes, because it says Phil Meyer missed call. So then I have to go up here and I have to do this, and I hate this. I just hate this. And now it's calling Phil, who will now, of course, pick up, and then we will be able to put him in the number 3 slot. Let me see here. Let me go. No, Charlie, we don't have him in there yet, so we'll just wait a second. Now we'll go.
I seem to be coming in twice. I don't know why. Let me shut it down.
Shut what down?
My Skype for a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
All right.
Anyway, see, I mean, nothing works right? Now he'll call again, and of course I'll answer it, and it'll say Phil Meyer missed call. You know.
I was coming in twice when I first called too.
What do you mean?
And then it went away.
What do you mean?
I could hear myself twice.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And then it faded off and got better.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Who knows? I give up. I give up on this. Let me see here. There we go. There, and then Phil missed call, And then I have to go up here to Phil, and then I go Phil Meyer, and then I go add, and then it will call him, and then he will call back. And, getting this show going is the most boring part of this show. Are you okay now, Phil?
Yeah, it gave me, when you called me back, another set of camera, microphone, and so forth. I clicked on the wrong one.
Oh, I see. It was your fault then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's Phil. Okay.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm from Skype. I'm here to help.
Yeah. I'm a little delayed already, I noticed. But anyway.
Wow. Just three of us. Wow.
Yeah. Well.
Hey, Alex, I hate to say this, but just a thought. Have you tried to replicate it on another account that you might have?
No.
Okay.
But I could give it a try, but I don't think I'll have any different result. And if I don't, if I do have a different result, then why is my Skype fucking up? What's wrong with Skype?
I know. I know. Yeah.
So I mean, and
it all started with that upgrade.
It all started when the upgrade happened. So you figure that one out, And so that's my gripe number 1. You ready for gripe number 2? It's the second day in a row I sign on to see how my machine is doing. They're still diagnosing it, which makes me suspect they haven't done anything yet. That's just what they go to next, and it just stays there until they actually diagnose it. I keep thinking, what happens if they can't fix it?
I got a feeling since they touched it, they own it.
Really?
And and if they can't fix it, I think they're going to provide you a replacement.
Yeah,
I think so too.
A refurb. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll wait. I sure would like to get it back because it has the power to do the show where I don't get a little out of sync, but it's not that bad yet. So that got me. And then the third thing that got me today, I live in this apartment house where the people who run the apartment house are such cheap fucking bastards and assholes that they're willing to charge people $7,000 a month rent, but they don't have a concierge. Okay? Now, what building that has $7,000 rents doesn't have a concierge?
A lot of them.
Somebody there who can, if UPS comes by, can take the packages, right?
I mean, like a doorman.
Your building needs one. Your building needs one just because of the configuration.
Because of the configuration on the side, they don't have one. And so I constantly, every now and then when I'm doing UPS, when I'm doing Amazon, I've got to pray my package gets here. And today I was here all day. Okay, I can hear the bell from the back room here, and it never rang once. And I get a thing saying, "Sorry, you weren't there." They're not only is UPS not going to deliver it tomorrow, they're going to deliver it to a UPS access point. And that drives me crazy. I mean, I let's say I'm crippled, okay? And the reason I do Amazon is because it comes to the door. And this happens all the fucking time. I mean, less with UPS, but I've got to deal with Amazon, and no more USPS because they're terrible. And please, if you don't have to, no FedEx. Yeah.
I got a Amazon delivery today, and these guys took a picture of the door and the package laying on the floor in front of the door. Well, I look at the picture, and it's not my door. But there was...
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's back up. You say that you saw them taking the picture in front of your front door.
No. They send you a picture. You order something, they deliver it, and you see a photograph of your package leaning against the door, supposedly your door.
I've never gotten that. Never had that.
Well, it must be something new. So because the last 2 things I bought, actually 3 things, I got the picture. So I'm looking at this picture, and there's a floor, and there's a walk-off mat, like a welcome mat in front of the door. Well, I don't have a welcome mat in front of my door. First of all, nobody's welcome.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're antisocial.
But I'm looking at this welcome mat, and I said, I recognize that mat. It belongs to an apartment on the way to the elevator. So I'm walking down the hall, and there's the mat, there's the package, and I look on the package, and it's got my name on it. So the Amazon writes you a thing that says, when they send you the picture, what do you think of your delivery? And I said, that's not my door.
And did they write you back?
No.
No. See, I mean, what is it? What good does it do? I called Amazon and I said, I was here. I want a redelivery of this package. Now, in the old days with UPS especially, you could call them, ask for a redelivery, and usually within an hour or two, they redelivered. Yeah.
This is the photo.
Yeah.
That's the package, and that's the little mat in front of the door.
Right. Well,
Not
anyway,
my door.
Anyway, listen to what I'm saying. So now I forgot what I was going to say.
You were saying, I forgot to.
Redelivery.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you could ask for
Redelivery, yeah.
ask for a redelivery, and UPS would redeliver. So I call Amazon. I say I want a redelivery. They said, well, we don't know if we can do that. What? Here's the number for UPS. I said, wait a minute. I got it from you guys. You call them. Well, we can't give them your phone number. I said, I'll give them the phone number once you call them. Okay. So they call them. So they say, okay, somebody will call you within the next 2 hours. I said, the next 2 hours, that goddamn UPS truck's probably going to be in Philadelphia by then, you know? But within about 10 minutes, I get a call from UPS, and I say, I want a redelivery. And they said, oh, that was Trevor who tried to deliver it. He had 30 other packages he delivered to the building, which I don't believe because I've never seen UPS with 30 packages, okay?
Yeah.
I said, well, obviously, then he got in the front door, and if he got in the front door, why the fuck didn't he ring my doorbell? Well, he said they tried. I said, they didn't try shit. I said, now get me my package. And they said, well, we can't do it. It'll be at a UPS access point. I said, if I didn't call you, how would I know that it was going to be at a UPS access point tomorrow? Well, they're supposed to leave a note. I said, he didn't leave a note. He said, well, you know now. I said, where is the access point? 280 West 118th Street, which is, a short walk for me. Except on a day when I feel lazy. But anyway, short walk for me. And I said, yeah, but suppose I want it delivered to my front door. And he said, well, we're not doing that. I'm going, what is wrong with UPS? Now, usually I have to admit they're pretty good. If I get the right guy, he knows who I am, he leaves the thing at my front door. I go out many times and I go, oh, a present. I mean, they leave it for me. This guy didn't even fucking try. And that just drives me crazy. And I went out looking for the truck because sometimes they're in the area and I couldn't find the truck. So anyway, I went up to this 280 place, the access point, and turns out it's an incense shop. Mm. And this lady inside said to me, yeah, well, they do it. They deliver every morning. She said, write down your name, write down your phone number. I'll call you when it comes. Okay, which was very nice of her. But that amazed me. Excuse me, my eye has been, I've had all kinds of problems with my eye with allergies. So, and I did have, maybe I'll go out while you're talking and just wet a piece of paper. I find that if I wet a pad of paper and put it on my eye, it calms it down.
How about a drop or something?
No, I tried drops. It's horrible. I mean, I'm almost
a steak. Put a steak on there.
Put a steak on
Nobody
there.
punched him.
Yeah, that kind of cure for a black eye. You'd rather have a black eye than waste the money on a $10 steak.
Go get your paper.
Huh?
Go get your paper while you got three of us and we're not fighting.
That's okay. Well, see, what I do is I take a piece of paper like this, and then I fold it many, many times over and make it into
it's like origami, huh?
Like a little pad. Make it into a pad. See, folks?
Origami with
it's getting smaller. See? Okay.
That's what she said.
Even out of sync. Okay. So now let me run to the bathroom. This will take about 2 seconds, right? And wet it.
Not if you have to pee.
Yeah, that's going to take like a couple hours probably.
Yeah.
Does it sound really bad with the fans in here?
We can hear it, but
Yeah.
it's not
Not
terrible.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, we
So
lost Tim Conway.
I know. And Doris Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to thank Tim Conway for his service at McHale's Navy.
We
Yeah.
are. Oops.
I love that guy.
What?
And Doris Day was awesome too.
He was talking about Tim Conway.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Now all of a sudden, what happened to my pictures here on the screen?
Maybe it's delayed.
No, I've got a problem here. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. It was just it's the Mac and little things it does when you move stuff, and I touched something wrong and everything disappeared off to the side, but now it's back up again and we're fine. Okay. And I seem more in sync. I don't know why, but anyway.
Yeah.
No, you see, I do this because what it does is that rather than rub my eye, it calms my eye down, and I can just see, and then it's not, and it takes the roughness out of the paper too. So that's my little clue to the whole thing. So anyway, I mean, it's been just it's just one fucking thing after another that goes wrong, and I get very tired of this.
Well, on Sunday, that package I just got delivered was a redelivery. Because the first one leaked in the package. So I wanted to return it. And they don't just, send you a return coupon and you go to the UPS store. They wanted me to bring it to the Amazon store, which is a short walk from my apartment. And
tell them fuck you. Tell them fuck you. Tell them I'm a cripple and I can't do that.
Well, what happened was you go to the Amazon store and they've got a Pete's Coffee in there. And there's a big sign that says, if you return something, they'll give you $1 off your coffee. So I said, okay, I'm returning.
What is with this? Here are a bunch of people who literally killed the brick and mortar store. All right?
Right.
And they decide to open up brick and mortar stores?
There's 2 of them now, one in Walnut Creek, and I think the other one's in the city. And it's actually it's like a mini Barnes and Noble. When I go to my Underwater Photography Association meetings on that one Friday a month, it's in San Mateo, and there's a Barnes and Noble in San Mateo. So I make sure I stop there and I get my latte before I head over to the meeting. Mm-hmm. And I love Barnes and Noble, but this is. It's actually a very interesting store. There's no price tags. What you do is you go up to the little barcode with your phone. You put your thing on.
This is assuming, see, again, this is shit, because that's assuming you have a phone.
A smartphone, yeah.
Well, yeah. And if you live in Walnut Creek, you got a phone. So anyway,
suppose you're Larry Bubbles Brown.
Well, then he can't get a book. You can, there's some kiosk you can go to and punch the stuff in and see the price. But if you take your phone.
Are they too lazy? Are they too lazy to take a little card and slide it into a thing?
Yes, the price changes, and it changes based on what your account. So for instance, I walk up to a book and I have
this
my
is what's
app
wrong
open.
with the world today. Go ahead. Yeah.
I have the Amazon app open, mm-hmm. and I walk up, and the camera takes over. It scans the code, and then it tells you the price. And the price was greatly discounted off of not only the price that was on the cover of the book, because I owned the book. I just wanted to see how much they were selling it for. So I asked the guy, and he says, he says the prices change, and this way you get the most accurate price, for the day and for your account.
And what this has a tendency to say is on Monday, the price of something you buy on Amazon is going to be different than it is on Tuesday.
That's what the guy said.
And I have done that.
Plus, I'm Amazon and I got a different price.
But you know who I do that? Who I do that to get the best deal possible? is Best Buy.
Best Buy.
What I do is I wait for something and I go online and there's a hard drive or a certain price and I keep looking at it every day and every day and every day until I see it go down to its lowest price and I immediately hop down to Best Buy, show it to them, and walk out with it cheap before the price goes up in the afternoon.
You know what happens to me? Every time you look at something, the price goes up if I don't buy it. So whether it's Amazon or eBay, some of these things, you look at the price, you see a price. I say, okay, and you go back there the day later or 2 days later, and the price is higher.
If the price is lower, I think you can actually get a hold of Amazon and have them give you a rebate on it.
Well, it's just that I see it on Monday and it's $10. I go back on Wednesday and it's $12. So it's not that I didn't buy it when the buy-in was good, and the price changed and it went up.
Fuck them all.
Never goes down.
Fuck them all. Fuck them all.
Including airline tickets.
Fuck them all. Fuck Amazon. I'm going to buy less and less from Amazon. From here on in, if I see an electronic I need, I'm going to look and see what it is on Amazon. I'm going to go down to Best Buy. I'm actually going to get out of the house and go down to Best Buy and say, hey, here's the price on Amazon. Walk out the door with it same day.
Was Ray raising his hand or wiping sweat?
I was raising my hand.
Yeah.
I have a little widget on my browser. When I go on Amazon, it scans all the prices of that item all over the place. It also scans Amazon's historical prices and tells you how many price changes they've had. What's
Where do you
probably
get
gonna
that?
I can send it to you. I can't remember the name. It's great. I use it all the time.
And what have you found?
That Amazon's prices changes their prices all the time on almost everything, like from week to week, or sometimes 2 or 3 times in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always going up.
Although they're almost always the best price.
Is there something happening tonight I don't know about?
Yeah, where is everybody?
Yeah, where is everybody? And also watching this. There are less people watching this than normally watch us.
I don't know.
Basketball?
Huh?
Basketball?
No.
I thought basketball was over.
No, it's like semifinals now.
Oh.
Yeah, well, still got playoffs going.
Yeah. Anyway.
It was quarterfinals before, so you could have more people watching you.
What the hell? So. Well, maybe I'll just close down early tonight and get some sleep.
Yeah, but if they're watching basketball, you ought to just call in and let Alex know so he doesn't get upset.
Well, I mean, we just got another couple of people watching. Wow, it's really strange tonight. And I'm tired. I'm tired all the time. And I don't know if it's just sheer boredom.
Well, Happy Days will be here again. Tomorrow is Phil Free.
It is? I'll tell you, our show on Friday was maybe the best show we've done all year.
Yeah, you didn't talk about Trump.
No, we had a good. It was our sports edition. We did the whole show was about sports.
I listened afterwards.
Yeah, it was probably one of the best shows we've had. So, when you take a day off, I don't get worried anymore.
Yeah, that's great.
I have to say, I listened to it. It was really good. I watched the whole thing. It was really entertaining.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Yeah.
And, the fact that didn't you preempt it with the video of that you won the Emmy for, or the?
Well, I didn't preempt it. I ran the Emmy Award-winning piece.
Yeah. So I watched that. I had never seen it before, and it was interesting, and that was good. And maybe the show was better because you actually created the show, or around what you just did.
Well, I mean, no, I think the show was great because you weren't on it, first of all, and I just think the fact that we had a topic that we don't normally touch on made it interesting and unusual.
Well, Trump is the low-hanging fruit, and I think people are just getting bored with the easy pickings.
Well, something? I don't think that's true. I don't think they're bored with it. I think that they're frustrated by it, and they find that for all the griping they do, it doesn't seem to change anything.
Let's see how much griping they do now that the investigators are being investigated.
Believe me, that's low-hanging fruit for Trump. I mean, come on. You know, you don't. Once they come out with a decision like that, you kind of let it lie. Now the only thing that's still open, to my way of thinking, is obstruction, and I think there's an argument for that. And there I think they have a right to go because Mueller did not disprove it and did not say it didn't exist. He just said he wasn't going to prosecute it.
Can I ask you something?
Let me finish, Phil. Let me finish.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that it would be better for Trump to just let it go and say, okay, if you want to look for collusion, for obstruction of justice, go give it a try. We'll answer any questions you want. Just act blasé about it. But he acts so fucking guilty.
Yeah. What the right is saying is that Mueller's job is not to exonerate or to, his job is to charge or not to charge. And
his job wasn't to charge or not to charge. His job was to file a report and then allow the other people to either charge or not charge, either the federal attorney, the attorney general,
Rosenstein or Barr,
or the Congress of the United States, who has the right to do that as well. They can impeach him.
But that's their oversight.
Wait a minute, they can impeach him. In other
words, but their oversight.
Yeah, but they're oversight, but they have the ability to impeach him. What I'm saying is that part of it. In this case, he basically said, I did not find enough cause to say there was collusion with Russia, but I found, and on the obstruction, I can't say that anybody should be charged, but I'm not saying that he's innocent either. So that was left open, and you have to admit that, Phil, it wasn't a closed door on that.
But now the Mueller report is available.
Yeah, here we go again.
In its
Here we go again.
unredacted
Here we go
form.
again. Yeah, where?
At the Senate. At the Congress. There's a viewing.
No, less redacted is the term they use.
Well, there's a small percentage.
Less redacted.
Yeah, for the.
Well, they want to be able to look at the whole thing. Yes, Ray.
Yeah, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that Mueller had made the decision right at the outset that he would never charge anyone with the president with anything because Barr had stated in a letter that the president could not be indicted, a sitting president. So he said, there will be no indictment.
But
that's what he said.
But the indictment and charge, or saying that he did obstruct, is different than charging him.
No, but he said that he would never say that. He said that he would never say that there was. No, he said that he would never say that there was an obstruction because that
I don't
was
remember that.
Okay.
Who said that?
I remember Barr.
Mueller.
Barr was quoted as in earlier writings saying that the president couldn't be indicted.
Yes, and Mueller.
I don't think Mueller had an opinion on that. Well,
Mueller's
because
opinion was that he had to go with what Barr said because he was the attorney general.
There was an agency called the OLS or something like that, which is the attorneys at the White House that were the ones that made the recommendation as to whether you can indict or not indict. And,
okay. Well, it seems like it's kind of a confusing topic. Like the facts, like we don't, and none of us really actually know.
Yeah,
because
there's
I've
an
heard
Office
one
of
thing
the
and you've heard
Legal.
another thing.
Yeah, Office of Legal something. I think it's OLS, and
right.
they're the ones that made that made a recommendation. But I don't think that there's a conspiracy here.
No, I don't think there's.
Because if there was,
conspiracy.
Barr didn't have to release it at all. But if he did, he would have won a sports Emmy just like Alex.
Boring.
All right.
Fucking boring.
Okay.
We've been down this road before. All I know is that Mueller said at one point, I'm not going to say that he is guilty of collusion, but I'm not going to say that he isn't, basically is what it said. And that has still been left open for conjecture. Oh. As for the collusion with Russia, that is a closed subject, and we can move on to other stuff.
Okay. How about Iran saying to Saudi Arabia that the U.S. attacked their pipeline using a false flag drone. Do you think that they're trying to stir up shit? And,
what is Ray doing
create,
now? What is Ray doing now? What is this Ray's doing now?
Sit-ups.
Are you doing sit-ups?
Push-ups or something.
Push-ups or something. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Push-ups.
I was just wondering, somebody else would call and maybe jerk off or something. It could be more interesting than what Phil is saying tonight.
Ray could do that. I mean, he's already he's already doing push-ups. Jerk off is just a step away.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So
there's people here.
So where was I? Anyway. Yeah, Iran. Yeah. Well, he'll make a war over there. Yeah.
I got a feeling, and now the Saudis have shut down that pipeline, which is good for U.S. production of oil. And
yeah,
you're preoccupied here.
Hmm?
You're getting preoccupied.
Yeah,
it's a bright, shiny object, and now it's got your attention.
Well, it's kind of like when a baby constantly cries. After a while, you don't hear him crying anymore, and that's the same with you droning on about Trump.
All right. Well,
no, really, I'm saying this that.
All right. How about Roe versus Wade, possible overturn in Alabama?
No, that isn't an overturn. But what these states are doing, a lot of these states are doing, is they're trying to make some kind of a procedural case that can go to the Supreme Court. And you know that decision in Alabama is going to go to the Supreme Court.
Sure.
What state is it? Which state is it where they made it illegal?
Alabama.
No, another state they made it illegal where a doctor can get 99 years in jail.
I thought that was Alabama.
No, I don't think
that's Georgia
passing a. Oh yeah, Georgia also.
Yeah.
And therefore, Alyssa Milano says no sex for anybody as long as Georgia's doing that. They don't also don't want to do any movies in Georgia.
Yeah.
That could hurt Georgia because a lot of television production is being done right now in Georgia because they have given big tax rebates. They've built studios down there. And if you look at a lot of TV shows, at the end of the show, there's Georgia listed. You know, as being, even if the production was done in Louisiana, Georgia is a partner in the situation. So if all of a sudden Hollywood decides, and Hollywood certainly would decide in this particular case, if this is a bad idea, it could very well hurt Georgia's economy, very much so. Yeah,
I know. My mother got a lot of work when she was living in Georgia. Acting work.
Boy, put your thing landscape, will you, Ray? Because you're driving us fucking nuts.
It doesn't matter.
You're making us dizzy. There we go. Oh my God. What's he doing? He's doing every exercise.
What are you, Jack LaLanne?
Look at this. Now he's sideways. He's upside down, folks. I'm not doing any of that. It's just him. Yeah. What do you do?
He's trying to turn the camera, and it's not cooperating.
It's not cooperating. Yeah. It's probably locked now. Yeah.
I'll hang up. It's because my battery's about to die.
Don't hang up. Then you're stuck with me and Charlie.
Then there'll just be two of us.
I'll call back in a little while when I get home.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
All right.
Anybody else want to call and fit that fill that square in there?
Yeah.
Here, let me move.
I'm trying to find some headlines here that might be
let
interesting.
Let me move Phil up there so we have him in the right place. Let's see here. Where's Scuba Diver? There we go. Okay. Now, he's going to be in there twice, but I'm going to get rid of him once here. So we'll get rid of 3. And there we go. Okay. Now, is this all we got,
comedian?
2 people? I'm going to sign off, I think, at 11:30 tonight if we don't have more people.
I hope you get a discount. What's this? A comedian makes a joke about terrorism and gets arrested? Well, I just lost it. It was a headline. Where the hell did it go? It looked good, but I lost it. Had you seen that, Alex?
What?
A comedian makes a joke.
No.
Here it is. Terrorism joke gets cops called on comedian. Okay, I pushed it. It's Miami Herald. Oh no, that's it. Something else came up, not the one I wanted. Son of a bitch. All right, let's see if I can get back. I'm having the same problem with the damn phone.
What?
You know, I either I turn it one way and I twist it. I can't get out of this.
Does anybody else intend to call tonight? Because this is pathetic. This is really pathetic. This is the worst.
Yeah, I've been busy all day. I haven't been watching the news.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's basically what we got is a you know, I got to tell you, the one thing he's doing that he was very good at. Trump is doing something he was very good at, and I have to give him credit for that. He was very good at going bankrupt, and now it looks like he's doing the same to this country. That we're going to him for financial advice on something that he knows nothing about.
You mean the tariffs?
Oh, the tariffs, all of that. It's just he's going about it all the wrong way.
Do you know the tariffs go back to even the times of Madison when the only ones that were against tariffs were guys like Wilson and FDR, who were globalists. But they found that the tariffs were very successful.
But here's what happens, Phil. These tariffs are not going to come back to bite them in the ass. They're going to come back to bite us in the ass. You and me when we go to the store.
It's not the point.
No, it is the point. It is the point. Why do we have to suffer? Because he's making a huge mistake.
You're being very short term on this.
I'm not being short term, Phil. I'm 79 years old. I could only live to be 80. I'm not short term on this.
Okay. The bottom line here is that people are addicted to cheap products from China. If you don't buy those Chinese products, you don't have to pay any tariffs. And so therefore, if those products become expensive, why not move your operations to Central America where those people need jobs? And if you bolster that, you take care of two problems with one stone.
He hasn't made nice with South America.
Yeah.
Well, it's not South America. It's Guatemala. It's all these countries that need jobs. And if we, instead of moving our plants over to China, if we started manufacturing in Central America, we would solve a lot of things. We'd solve an immigration problem because people would have jobs. They wouldn't want to come here. And also, you know, these people want to work. They're hard workers. They have a great work ethic. Why take this stuff to China? So what it does by putting these tariffs on is it makes Chinese products unattractive. Now there's $500 billion, $500 billion of goods that we bring over that China sends.
Blah
sells
blah
to us,
blah
we're
blah
only
blah.
selling them $60 billion.
Your sense of the economy is you know everything you read in the
well, where else are you going to learn this shit?
No, you're not learning this shit. You're buying the line that this is what the tariffs will do. What the tariffs are going to do in the end, it's going to start stifling the American economy because people like Charlie and I aren't going to be able to buy goods and services because they're going to get too expensive. And we're not. Oh, shut up a second. Shut up for a second. You know, we're not
the only one you can talk to here.
Well, I can get rid of you and I can talk to myself, and I think I could probably keep going for 45 minutes if I had to, Phil.
Yeah, about Trump.
No, the fact of the matter is that we're not talking about just electronics. We're talking about shoes. We're talking about food. We're talking about a whole bunch of things that come from China. And if you think China's going to get hurt by it, they got the rest of the world to do business with.
They've already been hurt by it. Think about.
They really look like they're really suffering, Phil.
You don't have a problem.
You know who's suffering?
You know
who's suffering?
China.
Did you see the stock market go down yesterday?
Yeah, and it went back up.
No, it didn't go back up. It only went back up about a third.
All right. So, you know, but this is all short-term stuff.
Phil, it isn't short-term stuff because we haven't seen the full blowout of this tariff shit yet. Nope. Because you're going to go to the store one day and you're going to see that all of a sudden, all the things you're used to buying, the prices have just gone berserk.
You mean dog food that's got shit in it that kills the dogs?
Phil, that's not what we're talking about.
Formaldehyde-laced building materials.
Phil's out of sync. That's great. He's out of sync and we aren't.
So, formaldehyde-based building materials, I'm not going to miss Chinese products in the least. And I'm all for the American products, and I'm all for
what American
our
products, Phil?
neighbors.
What American products? Come on, name some. GE. Their stuff's being made elsewhere as well.
Yeah, but it's not.
The first thing that companies today, when they want to make a product and they got a product and they want to make sure they get the best profit out of it, they send it somewhere else to be made. They don't make it here because the number one, we can't find the labor that will do it here any longer.
Well, Vietnam is one area. South Korea, South Korea is expensive already, but Vietnam, Malaysia, and a number of other countries are already
and they'll start
up.
playing. They'll start playing the same game China has. Okay.
I don't think they have anywhere near the power that China has.
The thing is, what happens with Donald Trump is Donald Trump doesn't realize he's living in a new world of economy, and that it's a global economy, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. He only knows he doesn't know how to deal with it.
That's the problem.
Yes, that's the problem. He doesn't know how to deal with it.
You want it to be a global economy, but these are the kinds of he wants to go in a different direction. You want to go. You're a globalist. And
I'm not a globalist, Phil. I'm not a globalist. Just realize that the world is now a marketplace where before we had it all to ourselves.
And it's still a marketplace, but it's not a fair marketplace where they don't steal your intellectual property.
I got news for you. You got other countries that you got to worry about more than China. India being a good example.
Yeah, but India has law. They're not stealing our
Are you so sure of that, Phil?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You paused.
I took a breath.
Believe me. And you don't think we've stolen?
Of course we've stolen.
Okay, then shut the fuck up. Everybody steals from everybody. That's what happens in business.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
All I know is the one thing that Donald Trump knows how to do best is go bankrupt, and he's going to do it to this country.
Yeah, well, if he was Jewish, he would burn the place down. But
that's my joke. He burned down the place for the insurance money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. It's called a Jewish barbecue. Now, off of Trump, it's an Egyptian-American comedian that had the cops called on him in a stand-up set in Florida over the weekend. An audience member took his joke about terrorism seriously. Guy's name is Ahmed.
Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Tim has joined us now. So we do have Tim. Even though I don't like the Skype logo, I will put him in the bottom so that... Tim, where is Phil wrong? Where do you start? Tim?
Well, did you know Phil owned 3 radio stations in Florida?
Who?
Phil owns 3 radio stations in Florida.
News to me.
There's 3 radio stations that promise to broadcast 2 minutes of Trump speeches every hour of every day until the end of 2020.
Is there a reason for that?
Starting in the Panhandle, obviously.
A conspiracy.
That's where they want to shoot the immigrants. But.
Oh, that's where the Democrats put the icy. That's where in Panama City, where the Democrats put the icy runway for him to slip.
Right.
How they got ice in Panama City, Florida? On the ground. They just had a hurricane.
Really?
Well, it always gets pretty cold when Trump walks in the room. So I don't know.
Bada boom.
Yeah.
You know, there was also another radio station I was going to ask Alex. I think it's also in Florida that said they were found. The court said they had to register as a foreign agent because they were basically funneling Sputnik News, and Sputnik programs.
What do you mean Sputnik programs?
That's a Russian news agency.
No.
Yeah.
Sputnik is, I've never heard of Sputnik.
It's owned by the Russian government, and they use the name Sputnik. Right, Tim?
Correct.
Yeah.
Kind of like TASS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like their propaganda arm.
Well, Not necessarily everything they write is propaganda. I read an article about Norway, and geez, what was the article about?
Why are people so happy?
No.
And it was about they were basically saying it's a socialist country.
Well,
and all
yeah,
the
it
things
is.
you have to give up for health care and all that stuff. Yet it's the happiest country in the world. But Norway is right on their border. Russians, they literally hate Norway.
Who, the Russians or the Norwegians hate the Russians?
The Russians hate Norway because it threatens them.
How could it threaten?
Well, most of their navy comes out of the sea up there and has to go past Norway. So Norway's like everything they're doing. They don't like that. And they border. I think they actually have a border to Norway too.
Yeah.
On the end of the peninsula. So it's like North Korea on one end and Norway on the other.
Norwegian health minister said, let the people smoke, drink, eat red meat. And I guess Norwegians were up in arms. But that's why their health system works, is that they don't smoke and they don't drink and they don't eat red meat, and they exercise. And
because they have doctors constantly watching over them, telling them, "Oh, Jesus, Phil, can I just finish one statement without you jumping in on it?"
Yeah.
Forget it. Go ahead. It's your show. I'm not going to do anything anymore.
They don't get sick because they go to the doctor before it gets too bad.
I was going to say that.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
They get a year's maternity leave too, so they can bond with their kids.
Yeah. Well, we lost Phil.
and they honor the rule of law, which is some countries have lost that ability to do.
Yeah.
I mean, Lindsey Graham is a chairman of a committee telling a witness for another committee to take the fifth.
Who did he tell to take the fifth?
Don Jr.
Don Jr.
Well, he has the right to do that. He has the right to do that.
Well,
but he only has, if he takes the fifth, he has to take it consistently. In other words, if you take the fifth, you then have to continue taking the fifth. If at any point you answer a question, you no longer have that fifth as an immunity.
Yeah.
Right, but they came out with an agreement. He's going to testify for 2 to 4 hours in the middle of June. The questions will be limited to 6 areas. So obviously they've negotiated limited questions so that he doesn't have to perjure himself, obviously. But, they really want to find out more about how Russia hacked into our system, because it's happening as we speak. Mm-hmm. It wasn't DeSantis in Florida that came out and said, yes, there were 2 counties hacked into?
I'm sure that it's pretty well agreed that they hacked into the system. Now the question is, how effective were they? That's my question. Well,
the question is that they didn't need to be too effective because he only won by 80,000 votes to most.
Who?
Yeah, all 3 states together.
Well,
all 3 states together.
No,
right?
but here's the point. Here's the point I'm trying to make. I don't think that all that Facebook action did much of anything.
Well, I hated Hillary. I know I ended up hating her, and I was susceptible.
Listen, I hated Hillary before there was a Facebook. Okay.
Well, I wanted to hold her feet to the fire and make sure she did, but I think she was at least capable and believed in the rule of law up to a point.
Yeah. And
she was guilty of petty crimes, but nothing like the fraud that the Trump family and the Trump.
Well, I mean, they made up all these crimes. She killed Vince Vaughn, who was it? Vince Foster. That whole deal. The Whitewater thing kept going, even though the Whitewater thing came out to nothing. They kept dogging Clinton pretty much for his whole term until they could get something on him, and they caught him by putting him into a position in which any guy would lie. Did you cheat on your wife? That's basically the question that was asked.
Right.
You know, and they knew
I want
that.
to know what the Russians did with the polling data. I want them to get to the bottom of that. And we don't know what the investigation of Russia found out in national, as far as national security goes. That's not been released.
Did they have the polling data?
Cambridge Analytica had it, and those people that work for Cambridge Analytica, it came through Jared. Those companies have been reborn under different names, and they're working in our country and other countries as we speak to do even more sophisticated stuff that's harder to track. So and we haven't done really any. I haven't seen any stories about major upgrades of any election system anywhere in this country. And we know there's federal funds that weren't spent.
Well,
that were
you know,
budgeted
look. I got to tell you, the problem that we have had with the election system is it has always been rigged. Okay, from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
And I don't care how electronic we get, it's still rigged. And you say, well, let's go back to paper ballots. You know what they used to do with paper ballots? They would take the box of paper ballots from a precinct they knew was going one specific way and dump them in the fucking river. All right.
Right.
So I mean, paper ballots don't solve any problems.
That happened in Michigan because they were supposed to have a recount around Detroit, and they didn't have enough stuff to look at to even do a recount.
Exactly.
Because the stuff was missing.
Exactly. And
but we don't want Russia stuff in the ballot boxes. I don't care if an alderman from Chicago does, but I don't want Putin doing it.
If anybody's going to rig our elections, it should be us, right?
Absolutely. We need a campaign. If these are going to be rigged, we're the ones that are going to rig it. We want it done by Americans.
Yeah. But, you know, Phil, you can join the conversation now. What? Your microphone isn't on. Where is my microphone? Oh, I lost my microphone. Oh, I threw my microphone. I got mad and threw my microphone to the side.
You know what's funny is I'd like to know what Phil says. You know, they went after Burr for sending a subpoena to Don Jr., but he had the backing of McConnell. Nobody seems to be bad-mouthing McConnell. Nothing gets done in the Senate without McConnell approving it. So why is McConnell getting off without any criticism? Well, because he's getting the judges appointed, I guess.
Yeah.
That gives him a pass.
Okay. All right. Well,
that must be what it is. Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, I'm just so fed up with the whole thing, and the Democrats are becoming idiots themselves. You know, I mean, I don't think they basically have anybody in their group who is a good, solid challenger against Trump. I look at Biden, and all I see there constantly is an old, doddering man. Now,
yes,
oddly enough, I don't see that in what's his name from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. I don't see him being a doddering old man. He has a kind of an energy to him that's good.
He's sharp. He's sharp-witted too.
But in the case of Biden, I see. He comes across. Am I right, Charlie? Tell me. Do I? I'm not going to ask Phil because Phil would agree. Yeah.
He's got so much baggage that they'll just pummel him.
Well,
he's got so much baggage.
Good for him that he's got baggage, because that meant that he spent so much time in the Senate that there's a paper trail, okay, of mistakes he's made.
Which means he actually did some stuff. I didn't like some of it, but at least he did stuff.
You know, like there are guys like Mayor, what's his name? Mayor Pete, who have no real record. You know, a little paper trail. I think his record was maybe he didn't do so good in math in high school. You know, I mean, there's not a lot of paper trail on him. And so maybe he's the best possible candidate because they can't get a lot of stuff on him. All they can do is say he's gay, and they can't even say that because that's not considered right. So, you know.
I think the dream ticket for actual abilities would be Elizabeth Warren.
Couldn't win.
And
couldn't win. Just could not win.
But she is she knows her stuff.
There are people there that I'm going, like to Marjorie was saying to me today, who's that? I said, he's a presidential candidate. And somebody, I can't even tell you who it was. He was so, he was like the governor of some state we never heard of.
Yeah,
Montana.
Yeah,
Just put
Montana.
his hand-
Aren't there
his
two
hand
people
right
from
where-
Montana running for president, or is that Colorado?
Colorado.
Colorado, there are two from
I'll tell you, somebody else who's smart is Inslee from the state of Washington, the governor there.
Yeah,
There's no chance in hell, but he's good on the topic of the environment, and we're all dying. In fact, this latest series of events is they're blaming it on.
Well, forget about
would
that
not
for a
have been
second.
as bad.
Forget about that for a second, because that's a whole different topic, and then we get off on that, and then Phil,
Right.
waxes poetic on that.
But I think Harrison Warren would be my dream
the point
ticket.
is that a
If-
guy like the guy from is it Oregon? Did we say?
Washington.
Washington would probably do pretty well if there weren't so many people running. But you got to be louder than the next guy. You got to make more noise than the next guy. And unfortunately, when they're 19 now, something like that,
22.
22 now. Where did
Yeah,
where did
last
I
count.
last? This is like the temperature's getting hotter in New York. How hot is it going to be today? Well, it's going to be 72. Well, how many new Democratic nominees do we have? I mean, come on, how many of these do you think are even going to make it to January?
Basically, the running for president, that's a way to set up a dummy corporation and have a bunch of schmucks pay for you to take a trip to visit all 50 states.
Well,
it's a paid vacation.
Yeah, I mean, there are people running like Mayor Pete. I think is not a bad idea for a candidate. I mean, he's smart, he's sharp, he's got the goods. What? He's an American war hero. He's went to where Harvard was it? He went to.
And he watches Game of Thrones. Don't forget he watches Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Enough reason right there. By the way, didn't Daenerys really become a horrible woman this week? Anyway.
That's what I hear.
Huh? Oh, it was she. She will be known forever on as the Blood Queen. She's it was just horrible.
Blood will tell.
Yeah.
Has anybody watched Designated Survivor, the Korean edition?
The Korean edition? What do you mean the Korean edition?
I just saw it today. I think it's on Netflix. There's a Korean edition that has to do. I think it's pretty sure it's Netflix, not Amazon. A Korean edition where it's the Korean president that goes through the same thing, and they do it from the Korean angle.
Oh, I never heard of that. I do know the Designated Survivor is coming back on Netflix. And last week I had a binge finally on Lucifer, which they brought back, which is like one of my favorite shows, and it was terrific, just terrific, better than any of the shows they did on the network, just really good. So I hope they're back for another.
You're not a MacGyver guy, are you?
No.
Okay.
Why?
They've had some good ones. They kill people on that show. He's had a lot of people dying.
Well, on Lucifer, somebody's dead every week. There's the body of the week.
No, I mean good main characters, protagonists.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do.
Yeah, but I really, But anyway, so they're bringing back Designated Survivor for I think a 10-episode arc. We'll see how it does. I mean, I'm glad because Lucifer and that show were two of my favorite shows, and Netflix saved them.
Yeah.
But now what's Netflix going to do to save itself? Just saying, it seems as though Disney now is taking over Hulu.
Oh.
They owned, by virtue of their ABC stock, I think they owned something like 70% of Hulu, but the rest was owned by who's the cable company? I'm trying to remember now. The one I think that owns NBC, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, but they're buying out that portion of it eventually. And so ABC is now going to own that as well. Do you think this is getting to be a monopoly?
Yeah.
I mean, at least in the entertainment business, isn't that getting to be a bit of a monopoly going on? Because they own everything. Yes, Phil.
They're talking about Facebook being a monopoly and breaking up, all of these, types of communications.
Facebook, I don't think is monopoly.
Well, they're saying that you got Instagram, you got Facebook, and that they're controlling too much.
Well, I mean, how about Google?
Well, that too. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'm just
I'll tell you something. It's
telling you what's in the news.
It's happening in your neck of the woods, which is the Bay Area. This whole thing with Google and the Punchline and the possibilities that the Google bought that building and is throwing the Punchline out in order to turn it into a gym for Google.
Isn't
workers.
that building the Rockefeller built? What do they call those buildings? 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It was built by Rockefeller.
I don't know if it was built by Rockefeller
originally.
Really?
Yeah, and Embarcadero Center.
Embarcadero Center, yes.
Yeah, Embarcadero 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Supposedly Google has at least, if not bought that part of it, bought the whole thing.
Yeah,
and what happens is, here's what happens. Yeah. San Francisco was one of the most distinctive cities in the United States. I don't think we could argue that, It just was a very distinctive, beautiful city.
They didn't allow high rises, and not until Feinstein.
It's
was
being
mayor.
Ruined. It is now being ruined by these people who come in from Minneapolis, Omaha, whatever, trying to make it in their own image. Hey, so the Punchline's been there for 41 years. Big deal. Let's buy it. Let's put it out of business. Let's put a gymnasium in here.
If
that's
it's
what's
viable,
wrong.
they can move it.
But that's what's that you can't. You can move it, but you can't have the same thing. And it's something I wondered about.
It's a brick wall with a curtain.
There's something in the bones of that room. Okay, there's a history to that room, and it was still doing good business. So it wasn't like they were, in bad shape. They were ready to sign a new deal for $23,000 a month.
That's less than $1,000 a day in rent, considering what their door is.
Well, they were offered it at $23,000. Okay, all right. So they were willing to sign it, but all of a sudden they were told, "Well, we're not going to give you the lease." And according to Bubbles, there's a very heavy rumor going around that it was Google who did it because they want to turn it into a gym.
Well, if they bought
but here's the question.
Building,
here's the question.
A lot of offices.
They do have 2 other Punchlines. There's one in Walnut Creek.
No more.
No more? Okay, so that's gone. How about the one in Sacramento?
I don't know. You need a passport to go to Sacramento.
Wait, Punchline Sacramento. Let me see if there's still a Punchline in Sacramento. They did away with the one in Walnut Creek?
Yeah, there's something in Livermore, but it's or Pleasanton, but it's not Punchline.
No,
it's something else.
No, but there's a Punchline Sacramento here. Let's see here. Punchline Sacramento, the menu.
Yeah. No Walnut Creek. It was around the corner from where I live now. I walk out my parking lot. And
wait a minute. Here we go. I'll get it here. Hold on a second. Punchline Sacramento. Where is it? I just had it.
I don't know. Sacramento's 15 years behind the times, so of course they're still into comedy.
Okay, here we are. Yeah, no, it's still there.
Not in Walnut Creek.
Oh, I didn't look in Walnut Creek. Want me to look up Walnut Creek?
I don't know from Sacramento.
You do know from Walnut Creek?
Yeah, because it used to be right around the corner from my apartment.
Really?
Yeah.
Walnut.
If I walked through the park, it was right there on Botello, or however you pronounce that street. Botello.
They say the 10 best comedy clubs in Walnut Creek. But
there are 10?
Punchline Comedy Club, Walnut Creek. Let's see here.
Hey, my son did some stand-up comedy tonight.
Did he?
Yeah, in northern Michigan area.
What's it? What comedy tonight wasn't done in Michigan.
No, he did a stand-up at a local club. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He went physically tonight.
Comedy at Night was a show I was the host of. So.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. That was a Freudian slip.
No, Freudian would be if you said something that had the word "fuck" in it or something.
Oh.
Had a double entendre sexually.
It's the thought that counts.
Did you find anything in Walnut Creek for Punchline?
No. I think
it's been gone for years.
Yeah. Oh well, see, that's how long I've been away. You know. But they still have the one in Sacramento.
Yeah. Sacramento, comedy is just starting to hit the scene there.
It's starting to hit, yeah. But
it seems like they're having more stand-up comedians on the late night shows now. So.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't watch those late night shows. I know that Kimmel doesn't seem to have stand-ups.
Who's the one that Boot Ed Edge was on after he got called Alfred E. Newman and he said he didn't know what that was?
Was it Coleman or it's Colbert?
No, I don't think so. It was one of those others. Maybe. I'm not sure. All those guys look alike. Yeah.
Well, you know,
the only thing they don't do is tap the pencil on the desk like Johnny did.
Yeah, they also don't do a good show like Johnny did.
Yeah.
They don't have Doc Severinsen anymore.
I mean, the only one that I like really is Kimmel. I think Kimmel is the only one doing a traditional late night talk show, you know, and I think he's terrific. Alex, do you visit San Francisco? When was the last time you were in your old neighborhood, the Marina?
1941.
I haven't been back to San Francisco since we got married out there. Yeah, I haven't been back. And if I go back, I'm probably just going to take a month off from the show or whatever, and just go out there and
do the show from out there. Do a remote.
Yeah.
On the road with Alex.
Yeah. I don't have the remote equipment. I don't have a portable machine that has the power to do this. So.
Do it from here.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah. I don't know. You know. So, did you get my note back about Rob and the machine and your board?
Yeah. It wasn't a money thing. He just doesn't want to put the time into fixing it up. I thought that maybe he'd just use it as something that he could solo with, you know, because he was saying that he can't hear. When you use a board, you got a solo on it.
All he has to do, he could do something very simple. He could go buy a $25 mixer to add to his computer and just talk into his computer. All I need is the audio out of him, and what I can do is if I really need the audio, and I'm going to talk to him about this, we can just do it on Skype.
Yeah.
You know.
It's that good.
Because his audio is that good that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just that his whole studio kind of fell apart, and he just never had the
I know. I
desire
asked
to put it back together.
A promo. I don't know if Happy Days Are Here Again is free of what do they call it when it's not duty free? You don't have to pay.
In the public domain.
Public domain. And, Happy Days Are Here Again.
Actually, I have a place I can go here. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You go on the YouTube, and there's a thing here. And let me see here. Find out if music is... No, that's an audio library. What is the music policies? Search
what
music.
do they call that?
Okay,
I forgot.
Happy Days Are Here Again.
Yeah. Revenue free. I know with photography it's the same thing. Some pictures you can use and some you can't. And
public domain it's called.
Public domain, that's it.
Okay, let's see here, folks. Let me see if I hit Happy Days Are Here Again. What do we get? Do we get anything? No. here we go. Happy Days Are Here Again, the Glee cast, but I don't know if that's in
Public domain.
Viewer worldwide, ads can appear. Blocked in 198 countries if I perform it. Okay, but here's Barbara Streisand. Can't use.
Well, that'll be. That
Barbara Streisand, you can do ads can appear. Okay, viewable worldwide. Happy Days Are Here Again. Ben Selvins Orchestra.
That would work.
No, well, again, it's viewable worldwide, but ads can appear. But where's Happy Days Are Here Again, where I don't have to pay that?
Yeah, and then I said do a voiceover. It's Phil free, and
yeah. No, there's no way I can do it. I can do it. I just they ads can't appear in my show, or can appear before the show, but that's no big deal. That's no big deal. I'm not worried about that.
Right.
But no, the Happy Days Are Here Again. You would think it would be in public domain.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I thought.
That's what you would think. But
so I thought it would make a nice promo.
It's strange about public domain. Do you know why for instance, It's a Wonderful Life is not a great movie. It's, if anything, it is the essence of Frank Capra, which they used to refer to as Capricorn.
Yeah, but it's a good Christmas movie.
No, it's not a great Christmas. It's just, why it became so popular?
I'm assuming that it didn't cost anybody anything to show it.
That's right, because it went out of copyright. And so when stations found this, they just started, 5 stations would be playing It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas night at the same time. Well, somebody somewhere said, we got to get the rights. To It's a Wonderful Life. So what they found was the picture was out of copyright, but the music wasn't. So they went and got the rights to the music, and Republic Pictures became the owner of It's a Wonderful Life. The good thing about that was you got a consistently good copy of it, where before you would be watching a blurry one or one that was out of sync.
Is that the movie that they took some part out of it so that the music wasn't in the beginning, I think, or one of those things? What was that movie that I know that they chopped a part out because over the music?
I think sometimes what happens is there's music used in a picture, and then their right to use it runs out.
Oh, it might be Star Wars.
No.
Well, something like that.
I seem to remember some story like that.
Yeah.
But the fact was that things ran out of copyright. The music would run out of copyright. I'll give you a good example, something very interesting. Do you know the first 19 episodes of Star Trek are not in copyright?
Yeah, but
somebody forgot to
renew
to renew the or to even file for them. So 19 episodes went into public domain. What happened was, eventually, to make a big deal out of it, Paramount, to protect it, went out and copywrote the music.
That's the one.
And so you can't use Star Trek without using the music. So obviously, I'll give you a very good example though. Do you ever watch any of these stations that run old Johnny Carson shows?
Yes. YouTube,
Yeah. Tell me, I don't think they use the Tonight Show theme at the beginning.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They use some other piece of music in there with Ed McMahon saying, they took the isolated Ed McMahon, here's Johnny, and then they cut to the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to remember if they used the music or they did something. But the openings do not have the traditional Tonight Show opening.
Yeah.
I know. No, I know what it was. It wasn't the music. It was the name, The Tonight Show. They couldn't use the name, The Tonight Show. They couldn't use The Tonight Show. All of them were redone, so they were cut in the beginning and say The Johnny Carson Show.
That's right. Because there's still a Tonight Show, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they changed. So
I see.
These are things that sometimes will change. But there have been movies where they've changed the music on them because the music ran out. There was a great there's a great documentary series, if you ever can lay your hands on it, called Hollywood the Pioneers. It's 13 episodes. They ran on public broadcasting stations here in the United States, done by David Brownlow and was it David Brownlow? Is that his name? And a guy by the name of Gill. And it was a history of silent movies. And it's wonderful, but you can't find a copy of it anywhere. The reason you can't find a copy on it anywhere is they had the rights to use the film clips up to a certain time period, and then they would have to renew them after that point. So they don't sell the episodes anymore. They're not available. And then they did one on World War, what was it? Movies, silent films in foreign countries. There were 6 episodes of those. I have a copy of that. That copy I own is worth about $300 because you can't get it anywhere because all the rights to all the clips have run out. So there's
What would you do with it if the rights had run out? What would somebody do with it other than be a collectible?
Well, it's a collectible that I can sell for $300 or even more if I put it out on the open market. But I'm not going to. It's sitting right back here. It's called Cinema Europe. A great series, David Brownlow, once again. So, I mean, it's very funny about copyrights and how they run out and what things stay in copyright and what don't. My friend Shecky used to be a big expert on it because there was a time when you could copyright something for 13 years and then you could re-copyright it for an additional 13. And then it went out of copyright. Then it went into public domain.
What happened to the 50-year thing?
Well, they did away with that version of it.
Yeah.
And I think they went to either a 50-year with a renewable for another 50, or they
it was
went
50 after a death,
or it was the life of the creator plus 50.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Thank you. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that has changed. So a lot of those pictures that were in public domain, I don't think are in public domain any longer. So
because the deal changed.
Yeah. But I can't remember what it is. In fact, next time I talk to Shecky, which will be any day now, I'll ask him what the current copyright laws are.
Yeah, well, we all know that Happy Birthday was not in the public domain, and
Happy Birthday isn't in the public domain.
It was not. You're right, and
I can't remember. I think was it Michael Jackson who got the rights to it.
I'm not sure. I know he bought the rights to the Beatles.
He bought the Beatles library. Yeah.
Yeah.
They tried to buy it back.
They may have, or Paul McCartney might have bought it back. I remember after Michael Jackson's death, there was something going on with that.
Yeah, but Michael Jackson, I think, owned Happy Birthday, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on a second.
I know somebody did.
Who owns Happy Birthday?
And they wouldn't let anybody use it unless they paid.
Who owns Happy Birthday? Birthday to you. Boom. Let me see here. Who owns Happy Birthday to you? The Sumi Company registered in 1935. Blah, 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 blah. Then Chappell Music Company owning the copyright. Okay. Apparently it's... wait, does Michael Jackson own the rights to Happy Birthday? By the way, though some think otherwise, Paul McCartney nor Michael Jackson have ever owned the song. Apparently, Warner brings in over $2 million a year from royalties from Happy Birthday, which they claim they acquired through a company they bought in 1998 for $25 million. The music business is tough for sure. But it makes $2 million a year. So we can't even sing it on this program without having a flag go up at the YouTube, I would imagine. Yeah.
Interesting.
And if we find that Google has bought that building, the punchline is in, and I'm going to have a crisis of faith here because I'm going to have to drop YouTube.
Well, why don't you ask, wherever you're asking, who owns the Embarcadero Center in San Francisco?
Yeah, I'll ask it later. I don't want to have to do all that typing now because I'm lazy. Okay.
Well, you have Alexa. I mean, you could ask.
Okay. Echo, who owns the Embarcadero Center in San Francisco?
San Francisco supervisors have banned the use of facial recognition software by police and other city departments.
That didn't work.
Well,
so much for Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. Echo, shut up. Echo, shut up. Echo, shut up.
Be nice.
No.
It's Jeff Bezos' revenge.
She's just a figment of my imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I walked in there. I don't own one of those, and I hadn't any reason to want to have one, but they were selling $29 at the brick and mortar Amazon store.
What were they selling at the Amazon?
The Alexa, whatever the thing is, Dot, something like that.
The
$29.
Dot. Well, Dot is the one that I have here in the office. Yeah.
Do you need the big one to have a Dot, or can you have a Dot without the big one?
You can have the Dot without the big one. Just it doesn't have great sound to it, sound quality to it.
Oh.
But I have that little one, the round one that you can put by your bed. I use it as my old like a clock radio, and it's perfect. The sound is wonderful out of it. So.
Yeah. Well, I have a CPAP machine I keep next to the bed.
I don't know why you're out of sync. Now I bet you're in sync. Say something, Phil.
All right.
You're more
was shopping for echoes.
You were more in sync than you were a while ago.
Oh. Well,
yeah, I'm in pretty perfect sync. Thank you for nobody for calling.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Anyway, but my main camera is out of sync, I'll have to say. But it'll go back.
Well, you know what? You've made it.
Yeah, we made it. It's by the and by changing the subject to royalty and non-royalty music, and Tim fell asleep, I think, somewhere there. Anyway.
He thinks it's a conspiracy, this music thing.
Really? Hey, Tim, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure he was still there. Same thing to you, Charlie Wallace. Thank you. And thank you to Phil Meyer. And tomorrow will be a Phil-free night. Everybody wave goodbye, and I'll wave back, okay? All right. Yeah, not moving my mouth, because this way, no, what it is, see how I'm out of sync? Now if I hang up on these guys on Skype, watch how I immediately go into sync, okay? There they go, and I'm back in sync. You see? Oh, I just love Skype. They suck so badly. I just want my other machine back, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Jack Bishop is next. He's here with the intersection. And then let's see here. Tomorrow night we have a sports show with the franchise MC at 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time. And then at 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time, we got Damian Chaplin and The Exchange. And then I'll be back again tomorrow night. Same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.